This signal, known since then as the WOW signal, was recorded in the logs and has since become one of the most intriguing mysteries in space history. Jerry Ammon, the scientist in charge of analyzing Big Ear's data, couldn't believe his eyes. The code 6EQUJ5 stood out among lines filled with zeros and ones. Its intensity was extraordinary, precisely tuned to 1,420 megahertz, the natural frequency of hydrogen, suggesting intentionality. Without thinking, Ammon circled the number with a red pen and wrote a word that would go down in history: WOW. But that night, something else occurred. In the station's unofficial records, which never saw the light of day, one of the technicians noted an electrical anomaly. A slight interference, almost imperceptible, had infiltrated the control center's equipment. For a few seconds, all systems rebooted, and when they came back online, an unknown line of code flickered on the console. It couldn't be repeated, it couldn't be studied. But since then, the internal legend of the lab was that something had responded. For weeks, the scientists tried to capture the signal again. They pointed the telescope to the same part of the sky, over and over. Nothing. The signal never repeated, and that precisely was the most unsettling part. If it had been a star, a supernova, or a natural object, it should have left some kind of trace. But no, complete silence. Years later, an astronomer named Sarah Kim, obsessed with the WOW signal, revisited the analysis using modern technology. Using artificial intelligence and simulations of stellar behavior, she reconstructed the possible trajectory of a moving source. The result was unsettling. If the source of the signal was moving, like a ship, it could have been sending a coded message, but only during that brief moment before moving out of range. Sarah went further. She combined the signal with linguistic models and obtained a harmonic sequence that, when played as audio, sounded like a deep, repetitive chant, similar to an artificial voice. What had once seemed like white noise now sounded like a distant echo of intelligence. In 2024, the Fast Radio Telescope in China detected an anomaly at the same frequency as the WOW signal. Although less intense, the waveform matched. For the first time in almost 47 years, there was a possibility that the signal could be related. But this time, there was something more. Along with the signal, a code was identified. It was binary. When translated into ASCII, it revealed a series of characters seemingly nonsensical, except for one word repeated several times. Remember, the scientific community split. Some considered it a coincidence. Others, like Sarah Kim, saw an opportunity. She was one of the few who received authorization to access the full data. She spent months comparing both signals and then found the key: a minimal modulation containing a fractal pattern, complex and too perfect to be natural. Sarah and her team developed an AI to try to interpret the pattern. What they found was a kind of three-dimensional map, like a conceptual structure of thought. It wasn't a human language. It was another way to transmit knowledge, coded mental images. As Sarah's discoveries neared the impossible, barriers began to appear. Her team was disbanded without official explanation. Funding was cut. Files were classified. She herself received veiled warnings. One night, her lab was ransacked. But not all was lost. She had made copies. In the mental map decoded by the AI, there appeared a structure shaped like a spiral, resembling a galaxy, but with signs of energetic traffic. At its center, a kind of station or node. Next to it, a symbol that closely resembled the shape of a human ear. "They are listening," Sarah wrote in her journal before disappearing. Today, the WOW signal remains an unsolved mystery. The official version speaks of a unique astronomical phenomenon, but in the margins of knowledge, where science meets imagination, there are those who believe that on that night in 1977, someone knocked on the door of the cosmos, and that perhaps it was us who didn't know how to listen properly. Every time a radio telescope points to the sky, that possibility is reborn. Deep in the universe, perhaps there still echoes a voice that once said, in its own language,